Whoops, I just can't walk anymore. I just want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you so much. I'm Ann Byer, Keller Williams. Rhonda is my assistant. We're going to announce the panel in a smidge. We're going to try to make this fast to respect your time, but there's no way we can possibly cover everything about downsizing. So we are your resource, and all of us are available if you need us afterwards. As we know, downsizing is a process. It's not a quick decision. It can take years. And we're here to give you the questions to ask yourself to get closer to a decision. But we're not here to say, you should downsize, let's go, sell your house, let's go. That's not it. It's that there's things that you may not know about that could be helpful as you move forward. So our panel is Andrea Neff, who's a home stager with Farmhouse Staging. Megan Bond has a complete transitions, we're not senior moving service, but she has focused on seniors. Lindsey, she's got a very cool business I'll tell you about, has a fever, so is not able to be here. I think I'll interview her on video, and then you'll all have that as a resource, but we'll explain a little bit about it. Dennis Vondran is an estate attorney with McErlane, and Jack Mikus specializes in reverse mortgages with Watermark Capital. So who should consider downsizing? I think it's truly a matter of your age and your health, right? And those are the things that sometimes inspire people to say, hey, maybe this is something I might consider. Health is a big deal, and it kind of changes the direction in a lot of ways. Well, why would you want to consider downsizing? Well, mobility is a huge one. I have clients, in fact, I personally right now I'm having knee issues, and I'm thinking, I get it. I get why you would want to have no stairs. Health concerns. I have a client who has a degenerative thing going on, so he knows that he's going to be wheelchair bound, and he's planning for that in his move. A lot of people want to be close to grandkids. I have a client who's, she has a grandbaby in Denver. Suddenly she's moving. She's like, I got to be near this child. You might be tired of, every year the raking, and my neighbors know. I'm like, mulch is a 4-letter word in my opinion. You get tired of doing all that, and it's a progressive thing. Maybe it's not, instant, but year after year after year, you're like, it could be a lifestyle thing. A lot of people maybe lived in a neighborhood. I know someone here where the kids grew up together, and now one by one, people are leaving. The new generation is coming in, and it's not quite where they want to be. That's not their people anymore. It could be to reduce costs, because a big house can sometimes be very expensive. The oil is delivered, and it's a big ka-ching, and you're heating empty rooms, that sort of thing. We have a client where her spouse passed away, and she just wanted a fresh start, a new environment, doesn't want to be in that house anymore. You might want to capture the equity. The market is incredible for sellers, and so we'd have clients, they said, sell it, I want the money in the bank, and I'm going to rent until I can figure out what my next move is. It could be a desire to simplify, because you just have a lot of stuff, and maybe just getting that all behind you and living a cleaner, simpler lifestyle, which it's a HGTV thing too. Some people want to travel. They want to be in a place where they feel confident, they can close the door, lock it up, and move, go away, and they don't have to worry about anything on the outside of their house, a snowstorm or anything like that. And then there's the better weather angle, which a lot of people want to downsize and go someplace warm and cozy. So the first thing is just in this decision is, where will you go? And you should always know where you're going to rest your head when you sell your house. And so what are the choices? Well, I can't tell you how many of my friends, I just want a little ranch, just a little ranch house. little ranch house, little yard, you know. Well, we live in Chester County where we're the land of, colonials, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. And we do have some ranch homes, but they're not new, and they're on a larger lot. So, you want to be able to, is it okay to rehab them, to replace the bathrooms? Are you up for that? Are you still up for mowing half an acre or whatever? I wish we had more of them. I really, really do. Downtown Downingtown has a few, some Phoenixville ones, but not a lot of ranchers. And then there's moving from a single home to a townhome. And that can satisfy a lot of people because you have an HOA, so you don't have to worry about the lawn and all of that. But some people have trouble adapting. I have somebody I know who moved into that situation, and they can hear their neighbor next door going up and down the steps, and that drives them crazy. So, then there's a condo, which is more of an apartment style where there's somebody above you. That can, it's first floor living, which is great, but you have to measure, is that okay with you? Could you live with somebody above you if that were the case? Another choice a lot of people make is, hey, let's take this big house and buy 2 houses. So now you're, maybe you're a snowbird and you have a little place here and a little place there. There are tax implications that's beyond the scope of this, but it's, people do it. It's a great plan. And then there's the 55 plus active adult lifestyle, which is very popular right now. And it's I have people, I've moved into them, and they just think they went to heaven. They just go to the, happy hour on Friday. They're in, the biking club, this club, that club. It's like going to college. They've met more people in a short term in this environment than they've known in their old neighborhood. But that's not for everyone, right? But I've also had moved people into 55 plus who don't do any of that, and they're still happy as can be because they have new construction. They know nothing's going to go wrong for a long time. There are rentals now that you'd be surprised how many senior rentals there are. They can be elegant, wonderful with lots of amenities. There are actually senior rentals where you can go in at a whatever monthly fee, and then if you do need skilled nursing or memory care, it amps up the monthly amount. So you're not paying that entrance big chunk of money, right? You're just renting. And then the beauty of that is you can be a lot more flexible about, if you want to grab your equity and then scope out where are your kids, but they haven't figured it out, and you want to stay put for a little bit and test, or even go to a new area. Say you want to move to Florida, but you don't know where exactly. You can rent for a little bit, and that's a great idea. And then you could stay in place, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, my neighbors here would tell you, my next door neighbor is 99, living alone, thriving, doing great. So that's awesome. Lindsey she shared with us that people are very committed to staying where they are. There are a lot of seniors, they dig their heels in, that's it, I'm not going. And she said, if you fail in your health and you want to stay, it can end up costing $30,000 a month. If you have full-time, you have care coming in, and she said there are minimums and everything. So it's okay, but you should know what you're facing if that's the decision you go with, right? And Lindsey also said, so Lindsey has a company where she knows all of the continuing care retirement communities locally, and she'll take you to them, and she'll help you understand what are your needs, what's your budget, what's important to you, where do you want to be, and she'll take you around to these places, and you don't pay her, the communities pay her. So that's a pretty cool service if you didn't know about it. And she finds that people who use her service are most often in crisis. Like, they didn't plan for this. They didn't look ahead. They didn't put their money down 2 years ago when they maybe could have, and know what their plan is. And that's why I think it's important to study what you want, because we want to avoid crisis. You want to make sure you're making the decision about where you want to go, not your kids while you're, laid up. So then, once you know, the other big thing, of course, is cost, money, right? Money is a huge factor in all of this, and we're going to talk about some options with that. Is your health, what's your health like? What is your, oh, that's me. I apologize for that. Thank you. What's important to you? Do you want a yard? Do you want a garden? Do you want a fireplace? Do you want the big dining room because you're going to have these big entertaining things? Do you need to be near medical services? I have a friend whose husband's dying to retire in the Outer Banks, and she's like, no way, I need medical care, and there's nothing there. Do you need to be near a church that's important to you, or your family or friends? Some people don't want to be in a senior, they don't want to be around old people. They're like, no, I love young, I like different, and that's an important factor. What's important to you? And as I mentioned before, are you willing to do updates? Is new a better choice for you? One of the things I must have missed, but in new construction, one of the advantages is that you are buying at today's dollars, and yet it can take time for construction to happen, and you're selling your house towards the end at tomorrow's dollars, and that can be a very beneficial thing financially. And then you know that you have a new house, and you're not going to need to replace the furnace anytime soon. So when you're looking at all the money decisions, it's important to know what's the equity in your home, because that's huge, and we can help you with that. At least get a conservative estimate. Do you need to sell before you buy? That's really important to know. You might want to consider taking out a HELOC, home equity line of credit. That way you can use that, if you have a lot of equity, use that money to buy something and then sell, and they'll pay off the home equity line of credit. But you can't do that home equity line after you have put your house on the market. So it is something you need to think about a little ahead of time. Okay, and then Jack has some very, very interesting things that are for seniors that I had no idea. You'll be fascinated by that. Some of the costs that you have to expect too, like people have lived in their home a long time, they have a septic system, they've never tested it, and find out when they're selling that it needs to be replaced. That can be a pretty big hit, and it's better to know in advance and plan for that and get it taken care of before you run into trouble. Stucco, another big 4-letter word. It's having lots of trouble, so you want to, anticipate that when it comes to dollars. Then there's a lot of legal concerns that you want to make sure your ducks are in a row, and Dennis is going to address all of that for us. And then once you've made a decision, you know where you're going to go, you want to make sure that you prepare your home properly. And that is, selling a home, it's about location, price, and condition. Location, you don't have a lot to, you can't change that. But price and condition are important, and condition, we're going to talk about staging and how that can be helpful. We're going to talk about decluttering and how that can be helpful. We're available if you're thinking, well, hey, I want to do some improvements, but is that an improvement that will get me a return on my money? And I'm happy to consult with you on that. But it's funny how many people delay. Hello. People delay improving their home, and then they have to sell, and then they improve their home. And we have a client right now whose house was built in 1959, had no outlets in her bathroom her entire time of living in there. She had the plug and the light, right? Township So you got to have an outlet, a GFCI outlet in every bathroom. So she just spent $2,000 to put outlets in, that if she had done it, she could have enjoyed those outlets for 10 years, right? That's crazy. Just looking at, when it comes to things that you might do, any repair there are easy repairs. If your screens are torn, fix them. If you have a leak under the sink, fix it. But people sometimes don't even know. They haven't been in their attic. They don't know that there's mold in there. They don't know that, there's a problem in the basement or a crack or whatever. So sometimes it's to your advantage to do a home inspection so you know those things. And you must disclose any material defect when you sell. So it's really good to know. You don't want to have, when you sell your house, say, yeah, I get water in my basement. It's not a good thing. Yeah, I have mold in my attic. No. There are certain things, if you say, hey, my deck is old. Yeah, okay, we can see. Your air is old. Yeah, I got it. Your roof is old. People accept that. But water in the basement, that's not a good one. And so home repairs, and then decluttering, which is the most painful thing for seniors that there is. There is an attachment to things, collectibles, china, the chair my grandmother gave me, this, that, and that's why we have Megan, because she can help you make those decisions on what might stay and what might go. Clearly, we want to have less rather than more, but we're going to now. That's kind of where. Oh, and then we talk about pricing. Pricing is changes with the market. It's a function of what's sold similar, obviously. But what we are finding right now, it's a very different market. If you probably all bought your house and you remember, price a little high, and then they'll offer this, and then I'll say this, and then they'll say this, and then I'll say this, and then I'll say, and then you have a deal. Not today's real estate market. No. We price here, and they multiple bid to get to here, right? So what's happening right now is sellers have gotten greedy, and sellers think they can demand any price they want, and that's not the case. And so they're pricing here, and people are going, if I have to pay over that, I'm out. I'm goodbye. So we have a saying that says people are willing to overpay for a fairly priced house, but they are not willing to pay a fair price for an overpriced house. So that's a decision, that could be for many of you, many, many years down the road, or for your parents or whoever, But that is what I have to say about real estate. Obviously, you could fill 2 days with this. But I am going to open up the speakers. Dennis Vondran is going to talk about the law.
Hi everyone. I'm going to summarize the entire law in 10 minutes.
I like it.
I'm with McErlane, law firm in Westchester is where our headquarters are. That's where I'm based out of. We have offices Newtown Square, Oxford, Philly, Exton, and Mount Laurel. So we're all over the place.
Say hi to Lou T-Tie.
To who?
Lou T-Tie.
Okay. Yeah, he's in McElray. Yep, I know him.
Did you see your last name is McElray? No.
McErlane is the firm.
Your last name?
Vondran.
Vondran.
Dennis Vondran.
D-O-N?
D-R-A-N. I got business cards over there, and we have small post-it notes too, if anyone wants them. So, nobody likes dealing with a lawyer. And normally the reason everyone hates dealing with a lawyer is you're reacting to a bad situation. You got injured, you got accused of a crime, going through a divorce, or someone passed away. They're really the 4 main times that someone deals with a lawyer. So what I'm going to talk about today is some things that you can get in place so you're not reacting, so that when these type of situations need to be made, you can get ahead of things. And that's really what we're going to be focusing on. And in true lawyer fashion, we're talking about documents. The first document that is very important that I want to make sure everyone has is a power of attorney document. There's 2 types. We're going to start with the healthcare power of attorney. So what this document does that I draft has 3 things. Has a HIPAA authority, so that means your agent can speak to your doctors and can go over your medical records. It's going to have end-of-life decision-making, which is the most morbid conversation you will ever have with someone you don't know in getting that ready. And then they'll have appointing a healthcare agent. The reason those three things are so important is right now, everyone here can make their own decisions. No question. I have seen very quickly something happens and someone can't make a decision. Sometimes they have a spouse who's there, and under, it's called Act 169, the spouse can make the decisions, and that's great. But if you don't have a spouse and you have two kids and they disagree, where's the tiebreaker? What happens? Or you don't have any kids or a spouse and you have a brother and a sister and they disagree. What happens? The reason you do these documents is to avoid those what ifs, especially if you have particular circumstances. I get a lot of clients who will come in, they'll be Jehovah's Witnesses, and there's very specific things that they can do with blood transfusions. So we got that in the documents to make sure that all their medical providers know it. Similarly, people who are more devout Catholics, there's certain things that the church wants them to do, and we can incorporate that to make sure that their desires and their wishes are carried out. When I do a healthcare power of attorney, I don't mess around anymore. And right up at the top it says, here's my agent's name, here's their address, here's their telephone, here's their email. Because I've had it with doctors saying, I have the document, but it's on page 7 of 10 and I can't find it. It's right up front. So they know who to call right away if you can't make your own decisions. So that document, very critical for you getting the care that you need, because it can switch in an instant. Similarly, the financial one, generally just called durable power of attorney, is to make financial decisions. So you are the principal and you're appointing an agent to make decisions for you. People come to me all the time and go, don't worry about that. I got one off the internet. And that makes my head want to explode, because these documents can be loaded. You will see probably every couple months something in the newspaper about an agent stealing from their parent, neighbor, friend, because they can transact business on their behalf, and when the document was made, it didn't have limitations of what can and can't be done, and it ends up that this person that the principal thought they trusted was not trustworthy. So we want to put in certain things that can and can't be done. For instance, if you've been supporting a child, we can put in the document, this child can still get support up to this amount a month. My agent's allowed to do that. If you say, I don't really trust my agent, I don't want any gifting, great, we can put in there, no gifting. That way, if they ever try to do something, and hopefully the bank reads it, which is a whole nother problem that we're not going to get into here, they're not going to allow those type of transactions. It's protecting yourself now to a point when you're not able to do so in the future. That's why these power of attorneys are so important to do. The other document that everyone understands here is a last will and testament. Again, it's a morbid conversation having it, but if you want to get your wishes laid out ahead of time, that's when you want to do it. Meet with the lawyer ahead, not when you're like, oh my God, I just got a really bad, diagnosis, I need to get all my... You don't want to deal with that then. You don't want to see me in those instances. See your lawyer ahead of time, get things in a row. One of the big things with wills now that I want to really talk about is everyone thinks my will controls everything, and it doesn't. If you have an investment account and you have, let's say your son is the beneficiary on that, but you have a son and a daughter, and in your will you put, I want my assets split between my son and my daughter. Well, if you pass away, the beneficiary designation on that account is going to override what's in your will. So that's why when I do estate planning with people, I say, I want to know all your accounts, I want to know who's the beneficiary on them, to make sure that your wishes are going to be there ahead of time. So you don't get something that's, not equitable and something that, isn't what you want. If you want everything shared, we can get that to that point. Again, going ahead of time. You don't want to be running into my office at the last second, because it makes it more difficult, emotional, and we're trying to put, I'll say, the horse back in the barn, because we are in a barn, and that's not a situation that we want to be in. In that vein, if people don't get a power of attorney, let's say they say, too busy, don't want to deal with it, and they have a stroke. They can't make their decisions. They can't voice things. What happens then? Well, then you have to go to court for what's called a guardianship. And if you thought spending 2 hours with me getting a power of attorney is bad, wait till you have to go through the guardianship route. Because then you have to get a doctor to meet with the person and certify that they can't make their own decisions. You got to file a petition with the orphans court. You have to serve all the next of kin. You have to have a hearing. So a judge is the one making these decisions for you. No offense to any of our judges, but I don't think that's what anyone here wants, who they want making their decisions. And then you get a final decree, which is a decree, but it's not final, that they're running around trying to get the banks to honor and everything. All that could have been saved by an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to get a power of attorney ahead of time. So it's that type of situations that when you're looking at downsizing or making these big life changes, these are the things you want to think about from a legal standpoint that's going to put you in the best situation going forward. I'm not going to take up all the time, but I'm going to touch 2 quick things that I want to mention. Number 1, this drives all lawyers nuts. You will find people on TV that push trust, annuities, and they say you got to avoid probate. And avoiding probate is a great idea if you live in California, probably New York too. We're in Pennsylvania. All the people on TV are in California and New York. No matter how hard someone on TV is pushing you or a loved one or a friend for these type of trust and annuities and all, talk to an attorney before you do it. Most people don't need a trust, okay? Most people might not need an annuity. There are some situations that it is necessary in, particularly for some Medicaid planning or support of a spouse. And those things are, something that we can look at in the future, but just because someone is screaming it every commercial break doesn't mean it's something you have to consider. The last thing, and this is something that Lindsey would be able to help you, if you're looking at a continuing care retirement community, those places that you pay X amount up front, so much a month, and they take care of you for as long as you're on this earth. And that can be a great benefit to people. Read the fine print. Because I have had some people go into these, spend all the money up front, and tragically they pass away, a few months afterwards. They're out $200,000 sometimes. Look at the refund, because I have also seen people come in and hate it and say, this isn't what I want my money back. So again, something to be very careful of. Having a professional like Lindsey or having an attorney to help you review those can save you a lot of aggravation. So I just want to thank Ann for putting this together. I will be here afterwards if you have specific questions. Like I said, I have some business cards and some Post-it notes over there, and I'm happy to answer anything you guys have. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm going to say what I can say about Lindsey in her absence, but her company is Oasis, something, health, what is it?
Care.
Hang on.
Senior care.
Anyway. I did not know this existed, and she says that she covers Chester, Delaware, and Lower Montgomery. But if you have people in other parts of the country, knowing that this Oasis is a service is pretty wonderful, because it can be overwhelming to people. I personally tried to get information, and they have different entrance amounts, they have different monthly things. The one thing that she stressed, we had a little gathering before this, that people wait too long. You must be healthy to go into them. You must go into the independent living. And if you are in crisis and cannot do that, a lot of your options go away and you're quite limited. So I remember her saying that. And we'll try to provide more information. I'm so sorry that she had a fever, so she wanted to be safe with us.
Can I just jump in with something?
Sure.
I have referred Lindsey to a few of my clients, and one of the things that I think she does the best at is, like, I had one, her brother-in-law was in a hospital, needed to go in right away, and she called Lindsey and said, hey, I'm looking at this place, and she goes, don't do it, nope, not that place, and then can direct her to a more appropriate setting. So that's an advantage to have someone who knows the facilities, can really help your loved ones get good care.
Absolutely good. All right, so Jack, tell us about you.
Great. Well, Ann, thanks so much for putting this together today. I think it's a great idea, and I think everybody in attendance would agree, as well, to have a forum like this with some of us to just give you an overview of how we help folks like yourself day in and day out. My name is Jack Mikus, and the company I represent is Watermark Capital. My local office is in Malvern, so not too far away. The company is a national lender, and we offer all different types of mortgage programs. We offer conventional 30-year fixed rate programs. We offer home equity loans and lines of credit. We offer commercial loans. The area that I specialize in is reverse mortgages. And I've been in the mortgage business for about 20 years now. And I really chose reverse mortgages as the area of specialization because I really get a lot of gratification from helping people on a day-by-day basis. And I have a lot of my clients that will call me, especially around the holidays, to say, Jack, I just wanted to let you know I was thinking about you, and you really helped me out in my situation. My favorite client, she calls me her angel because she was able to stay in her house with the reverse mortgage. So there are really two different types of reverse mortgages. One is a reverse mortgage that you can get when you own your own home and you want to continue to live there, as Ann had mentioned earlier, but maybe you don't have enough money because real estate taxes are going up, insurance is going up, homeowners association fees are going up, but Social Security or pensions are not rising at the same rate. So you can use a reverse mortgage and obtain the proceeds in three different ways: as a line of credit, where you draw the money as you need it; as a lump sum, where you get all of the money at once; or the third option is a monthly payment, where we send you a payment every month, just like you would get a Social Security or a pension payment. So those are the three options: line of credit, lump sum, or monthly payment. You can choose one of those options, two of those options, or a combination of all three of those options. So that really enables you to stay in your home if you want to stay there into the foreseeable future. The other product that's really gaining a lot of traction, and I work with a lot of realtors like Ann, is the reverse mortgage for purchase. And as Ann mentioned, the real estate market is super competitive right now. And if you want to purchase a home, one of the things that you have to have if you're going to get a mortgage is a pre-approval letter. Just because there are so many people out there that want to buy the same house, that if you don't have a pre-approval letter, most likely the realtor's really not even going to be working with you to begin with, because they don't want to invest all the time and energy in helping you with the house only to find out that maybe you're really not qualified because of a credit issue or something like that. So I'd just like to take a couple minutes to tell you about the reverse mortgage for purchase. So the reverse mortgage for purchase is a great product if you have a substantial amount of money from the sale of your previous home, but you don't want to tie up all of that money in the purchase of a new home. And just to give you an example, if you want to buy a $500,000 house, the reverse mortgage for purchase, to make the math easy, would provide 50% of the money for the purchase of the new house. So you would be taking $250,000 of your money, say from the sale of your existing home. We would give you $250,000 of our money as a loan to purchase the new home. So you're not tying up all of your cash with the reverse mortgage for purchase. The best part about a reverse mortgage is that you do not have to make any type of monthly mortgage payment. You just have to pay the real estate taxes, the homeowner's insurance, and keep the property in good condition. Those are your only obligations. So it's freeing you up, of a mortgage payment in retirement, which is really a great thing, because I've had a lot of clients that the mortgage payment is the biggest payment that they have of all of their monthly expenses. So those are really the two ways that reverse mortgages can help you out: either stay in your existing home with a conventional reverse mortgage, or to purchase a new home. So I've also got some brochures and business cards over there as well, and if anybody has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. But thanks again, Ian.
And Jack, isn't it true also that the 50% is sort of it varies, and if you're older, you get an even better. Correct. It's like pretty amazing. And would you say that it's true that for someone who maybe doesn't have a ton of money, it's a good way to get into a house?
Right.
and you don't, they can't kick you out, right?
Right, as
They-
long as you
you're-
pay the taxes, pay the insurance, and keep the property in good condition, you can stay there. And a
Like
lot of-
even if your equity goes away, which,
Correct, right.
which over time, equity tends to build up anyway, so it's, you know, it's not.
Right.
it
But
kind
a
of-
reverse mortgage is also what's called a non-recourse loan, so you can never owe more than the value of the property. So if you do happen to live a really long time and for some reason the real estate values decrease in the area and your loan balance exceeds the value of the property, you have no personal liability for that. Most of the reverse mortgages done in the United States are guaranteed and insured by the Federal Housing Administration. So as long as you believe in the government, you know, and they're continuing to send you Social Security checks every month, then, you know, reverse mortgage is a good deal because of the backing that the government has and the consumer protections that the government provides in the program as well.
So I have a question in this
Sure.
regard. You mentioned earlier that the availability of cute little ranch houses are not so great around here. And, you know, for someone like us, we already live in a townhouse, we're not worried about the maintenance and all that. So our next move would be to go to something single floor living. And it seems like one of the biggest choices around here now are these 55 plus single places, but they're expensive. So I think we would wind up downsizing, or maybe not changing the actual square footage size, but just going from a 2-bedroom, three floor, including my finished basement area, into a 1-bedroom. Might sell my house and I'll make up a number for $400,000 and need to buy something for $600,000. So now where does this
Right,
money come in
so
that situation?
basically, if you wanted to buy a $600,000 house, you could take, say, $300,000 of the $400,000 that you have from the sale of your home. So you would provide $300,000, we would provide $300,000. You would then be living in the house, but you've also netted an extra $100,000 from the sale of the house because you sold it for $400,000 and you're putting down $300,000. So you've got $100,000 in the bank. And again, you're not making any type of mortgage payment.
So your $300,000 loan is over what period of time and has to pay back on that? What's
Right,
that?
so the reverse mortgage is paid back when you permanently leave the residence, okay?
The new residents,
Right, the new residence.
Okay.
Right. And technically speaking, the end date for most reverse mortgages is age 150, and nobody has made it anywhere near that at this point.
so I wouldn't be paying on I wouldn't be paying on that $300,000 as a monthly payment.
Right.
You would be basically having some sort of a lien structure on the new property.
Correct.
So that you get that $300,000 out upon us leaving that.
Right, so there would be a mortgage on the new property, and since you're not making a monthly payment, the interest would accrue on the outstanding loan balance.
So it'd be growing from
Correct.
300 to whatever
Correct.
with the addition of the interest. Okay.
Right, but it could be a good product for you because you wouldn't have to tie up all $400,000 from the sale of your property, number one. And number two, you wouldn't have to make a mortgage payment and you'd be living in a $600,000 house instead of a $400,000.
So where would the balance be between, say, like I have money in retirement where I could get that extra $300,000 out
Correct.
of there, or I could get it from you? What's
Right.
the decisions to be made there as to which way to go?
Right. And in many instances, I'm working not only with realtors, but with financial planners as well, who want to take a look at, you know, your overall portfolio and incorporate your home equity position in that, you know, when you make a decision as well.
So you and the financial guy would get together and talk about which would be the best approach for
Correct.
our particular situation based on what our retirement nest egg looks like.
That's exactly right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Does the house then go, using your example, 600,000, at 300, you would kind of put the bill on the other 300, I have the house, pay the taxes. I lived there for 10 years and I died.
Okay.
And now my son has it. Who, he's gonna sell it.
Right.
Okay, so he sells it, just say there's no gain on it, so he sells it for 600. How is that money divvied up then? You get 300?
Right, so we're getting 300 plus the interest that would have accrued during those 10 years. So to make the math easy.
What's that interest rate then? Is that just based on?
Right, so reverse mortgages are very competitive with conventional loans, so right now the interest rates are in the 7s. So 300,000, just to make the math easy, at 7% is $21,000 a year. not including, you know, compounding, that's going to be $210,000 after a 10-year period of time. But we can put together amortization schedules that would show you, you know, precisely what the loan balance would be at that point. The thing that you want to keep in mind is that in most cases, a house that you buy now is going to be worth more in 10 years than it is now. It's very unlikely that it's going to be worth less. But Ann can help you pick the right area that has high growth.
Right. Over time.
I don't have to worry about that.
There you go.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. Megan.
Okay, my name is Megan Bond. I am with Complete Transitions. We are move management, but probably an easier way to think about it is we're professional downsizing. So there's 3 big categories where we work with most of our clients. Most of our clients, generally speaking, are coming to us once they've made the decision to move. And so we're helping decide what is going to the new residents, whatever that is. That might be 55 plus, it might be a care community, it could be a townhouse, any variety of things. But we're helping decide what is going with them. We do floor planning with them, we do space planning. So floor planning is the furniture and how's the furniture gonna fit, but then, you know, if you've got a smaller kitchen, how much of your kitchen in your current location is going to fit in your kitchen in your new location? You may still have your cars, but not have a 2-car garage, those kind of things. So helping you figure out the space part of it and what is going. And then there's the part that makes everybody crazy, which is what are we going to do with the stuff that is not going with you? That looks different for everyone because every one of your houses are different and the contents of your house are different and how much the delta between your downsizings are all different. There's 6 factors that we look at and come up with a plan with you. They are quantity, how much is really left. Some people are actually surprised it's not as much as they feel like it's going to be. So quantity, quality, that is quality at the time of purchase, but also its current quality. Marketability. Unfortunately, marketability and quality are not the same thing. And there are some things that are very high quality that don't necessarily have a current marketability. So marketability time frame, that has to do with the sale of the house, generally speaking. What has the real estate agent said? Because that is our big investment. So has a real estate agent come in and said, you need to get rid of a lot of stuff? Are we planning that in advance? Are you going to be living there while the house is on the market? Are you moving in advance? What's the situation with the marketplace? Can you sell your house empty? All those kind of questions. So time frame, location. You might imagine we can't do an estate sale in a high rise, just doesn't work. And then finally, personal preference. All of you will have a different personal preference on how you want that done. You know, some people it's speed, some people it's money, some people it's efficiency, some people there's different ways people approach this in their own head. So we look at all of that and work with you to come up with a plan on how to handle that. Some people are looking for us to execute the whole plan. Some people are just looking for the plan itself, and so we accommodate different needs on that. And then for a lot of people, we do packing and unpacking. We are not a moving company. Everyone who works for me, and we are a team of 22, everybody who works for me is a female between the ages of 45 to 60. We actually had 2 college boy interns this summer. It was like, really, they're all like, what are we gonna do with them? We figured out what to do with them. But everybody is a female between the ages of 45 to 60, so we're really good at organizing, packing, whatever. We are not the heavy lifters. We are packing because we are unpacking and we are helping you set up your home. So in most cases, people get packed in a day. Yes, really, you get packed in a day. That is usually your last night in your current residence. The movers come bright and early the next day. They're usually, as long as it's local, they're at the location by lunchtime. We do have movers that we work with all the time to make sure that that happens. And then you're unpacked that afternoon. And by the end of that afternoon, you have a functional kitchen, a functional bathroom, the clothes are in the closet, and we have taken all our boxes and paper with us. Unless you have asked us not to unpack some things, and that's fine too. So that's sort of move management in a nutshell. The industry is relatively young, about 25 years old, depending on how you're counting it. So if you're thinking to yourself, I I don't even know like what to think about what she does. Understandable. There is a national association. We are the National Association of Senior and Specialty Move Managers. So you can look at that. They're NASM, NASMM.org. And then I have some materials over on the side. We're Complete Transitions. We're complete-transitions.com. Right?
Very
That's
cool.
it.
Did you mention staging?
Oh, she's coming.
Dun, dun, dun.
I
It's a
did.
good segue.
Right.
Were you hired for this?
So that's a complicated answer. So like if you were living here and you were moving to Texas, we partner with somebody through our national association. So we pack here and we do the downsizing here. A lot of times they'll do the floor planning on that end. We'll give them the furniture measurements, but they can go if need. Sometimes we need to go on site to a location to see where all the outlets are and where the thermostat is, because that can affect furniture placement. Sometimes we do it, sometimes they'll tweak it. We do it all kinds of. Sometimes, you know, like we just did one moving out to Chicago, and she had done a great job downsizing her big stuff, like really knocked it out of the park. She did fantastic. But I walked through this kitchen and to a laundry area, an extended closet area, and she had to sell the house, you know, shoved everything in there. So we helped her downsize that. We helped her get prepared for the move. In her case, when she got to Chicago, her stuff was going in 2 locations, some to her daughter, some to her. So we made sure that we did not pack that. We don't generally pack when it's going long distance, but we organized the pack for them and made sure that all the boxes going to the daughter were appropriately done, appropriately marked, so that the mover could ease, because they're doing a handoff too, the mover's doing a handoff, so that the movers make sure it gets in the right locations.
Can you give us a ballpark price range for these kinds of services?
I just told him I need you.
You know what, everything that we do is by the hour, and we come out to the house and we do an estimate, but everybody's job really is different. My favorite story about that is we moved 2 people into the same day in January, a number of years ago. They were in identical units that we moved them in a senior community. They were mirror images, these 2 houses. And the bill on the left-hand side was 7 times the cost of the bill on the right-hand side. But anyone who walked into the house on the left of the original home of the people that were on the left-hand side would understand why it was 7 times what the one was on the right side. They lived in a bigger house. They had a enormous piece of additional building on the property. They were multiple collectors. There was all kinds of things going on there. So everybody is different. You know, I use for a general rule, this is for packing and unpacking. Packing and unpacking is a little easier. For a general rule of thumb, when you are thinking about moving, when you use a move manager, your prices are going to come into 3 even parts of a pie. 1 part's going to be your mover, 1/3 is going to be your pack, and 1/3 is going to be your unpack. For a 1-bedroom, and this is truly a 1-bedroom, not a 1-bedroom den, imagine each parts of those pies is going to be about $1,500. Go to a 2-bedroom, it's going to be about $2,000. Go to a 3-bed, on and on. That is a good rule of thumb. That does not apply to everybody, because I have walked into enormous homes that hardly have anything in them, and I've walked into teeny tiny houses that have hours and hours and hours worth of work to do. So
Considering we're talking about downsizing, and I know you can't pin this down, but, and you're talking about a normal situation and not the one with the extra building and all that. Going from a 3-bedroom to a maybe similar size 2-bedroom,
there's no.
you're talking about.
There truly is, because we will come in, and if you want your linen closet organized, we will do that for a day. But some people want us to do their linen closet and the kitchen and the laundry room and the garage and the what. So we charge by the hour, and everybody's looks different. I mean, truly, there is not a standard when it comes to downsizing, because everybody's house is different. Everybody's house is different on the saleability end of it too. I mean, I have a guy who will come in and take everything out at the same time, good, bad, ugly. Like, he'll do it on, and so, you know, sometimes that is the best situation for our clients, and we'll pack them and take out all the good stuff And he comes in behind us and we don't even touch any of, like, we're not organizing any of that because the only thing that we've done is identified what's moving. We've moved it, we've taken it out of the scenario, and he's taking everything because that's going to be the best for that particular client, but that's not everybody. Some people need 17 auctions to go through their house because that's the content of their house. That's unusual, but that it happens.
Right, and I find that a lot of people who don't use that type of service, they're delaying the inevitable. They can't decide, they have to keep it, they move it, and then they throw it away. Like my mother moved into a one-bedroom, independent living thing. You couldn't make your way from the front to the back because she kept everything, and she wouldn't part with it. So this is a beautiful thing. That's what you don't want to do. You want to make a smart move. You don't want to pay to move something that you don't need. So, all right. Thank you. Speaking of staging,
Mrs.
you.
Miss Stager.
Miss Stager. Well, obviously he knows what staging was. I'm just curious how many people in here are familiar with what home staging is, aside from HGTV. Okay,
Tell
so
us.
there's a good amount of you. So I would say the home staging industry started in the early 90s, but I really feel like it's really taken off in the past 10 years, and it's really become a standard in a real estate, transaction. So it's a big part of the marketing. I would say, staging your home and photography is really what's going to get people through that front door. And, the photos online now is your first showing. It used to be people would drive up to the house and be like, I think I like this, and then they step in, they make their decision. But if they don't like the first couple pictures online, they're going to click the X and they're going to go to the next listing, and you've just lost the opportunity to get them through the front door. So I am Andrea. I own Farmhouse Staging & Co. We're a pretty small home staging and redesign company. So our primary focus is working with realtors to go in and evaluate the property from a buyer's perspective, and we do occupied staging consultations. We're not bringing things into the home. We're not. We can do that for you if you had a budget and you want us to buy bedding or pillows. But what we do is we walk through the property with you from room to room, and we give an overall suggestion of how the photographer is going to photograph that space and make sure it looks as neutral as possible, light and airy. The flow of the furniture makes the room feel as big as possible. So we may recommend, removing some pieces and things like that. Especially for downsizing, the biggest thing that I've experienced with those staging consultations is really determining what are you planning on taking with you and what don't you want to take with you. And a lot of the times, you're not sure yet because you don't know where you're going. So it's kind of something that I like to preface in the aspect of planning, is to determine, what are the things that I think that I'm going to take with me down the road. And that's where Megan can help with how to get rid of things, whether you're donating or I know I've bought things from they set up auctions with a company called Max Sold, and I purchased things from that just from, seeing it walking into properties. So there's a lot that we can do to help you determine, what you need to do from room to room. We provide a full written plan. I've been doing this for close to 10 years now, and I used to walk through properties and have people take notes themselves. But it's a very overwhelming process for someone to come into the home that you've built and created and made your home, to have us come through and say, you might want to take these curtains down because they're very dark, but those could be custom curtains that you paid for to have made. We don't want to come in and nitpick the way that you live. What we want to do is neutralize the environment and make it appealing to as many buyers as possible so that you get those multiple offers. I always joke with clients that it's kind of like when you get your house ready to sell, it's kind of like you're living in a museum. Like, you need to take down a lot of your personal pictures, and just make it general so that when a buyer walks through, they're not focusing on your collectibles and you know, your
grandparents'
family pictures. Exactly. Because what they do from a buyer's perspective, I kind of refer to it as buyer psychology. And I find myself doing it too, even though I've been in this industry for close to 10 years. You're trying to figure out who is that person, you know, what was their life, and why are they leaving? You know, a lot of the times in offices, you have all your certifications with your name on it, where you went to college, and people were really just curious of who is this person and where are they going? So it's just, you know, kind of removing yourself from that home and allowing the buyer to mentally move in themselves. So that's what we focus on in our consultations. And like I said, we go all the way down to creating a full written report, whereas if we were physically coming into your home to do the hands-on work, we allow you to do it yourself and kind of pick and choose what you're able to do. The things that we focus on when we are going through the home, we really want to help you get as much money for your property as possible. So like Ann said, a lot of it comes down to price. So what you put into the home is what you're gonna get out of the home. So obviously we talked about depersonalizing, clearing out the items that you don't necessarily want. It's gonna make your move in the end a lot easier, because you won't have to, when you're under contract, you're not gonna have to be hustling to figure out, how do I sell this, or who do I donate this to? I was just at a house yesterday, and it's a single woman, and she has all these beautiful antiques, and she can't bring them with her, and she doesn't know who to go to. So I gave her a couple antique dealers that I know in the area that she could reach out to. And obviously Megan is an expert in actually doing that for you. So there's that. And then we really focus on as well things that you can do to enhance the property to get as much money as you can for it. I think the one house that I staged in my 10-year career, they lived in the home for 65 years and nothing was really done to the property. So what we do is we'll give recommendations based on what we think would net you the most and get you the biggest return on your investment. Paint is always the biggest one for that. I always say it's your biggest bang for your buck, because paint can completely transform a home. So just by updating paint, it's, it could be a $5,000 to $7,000 investment depending on the size of the house. That could essentially get you $15,000, or I would say maybe more, I don't know, but that is gonna get you the biggest return. And we can give you actual recommendations on the specific paint color that you would need, the finishes and all of that. So you could just hand it to your painter and you've got that. I also prioritize based on what the needs are, but I think paint and then also light fixtures can make a significant difference. So the investment of some vanity lights and all that, we can actually, in the plan that we put together for you, we source for something even on Amazon or Home Depot, just very cost-effective light fixtures that can take, I call them Hollywood lights. A lot of people have those where it's just like the balls, like 5 or 6. A lot of those are rusted out. Change that out for a $50 light fixture, and it really does make a difference, again, when people are scrolling through those pictures, that, I kind of relate light fixtures to like a statement necklace that a woman might be wearing. Like, that's the first thing you notice when you walk through a home. If they're dated fixtures, you're gonna think, well, what else is dated? If the fixtures are all updated and there's fresh paint, you're thinking, okay, like, this is updated. So you might have other dated features in the home that you may not be able to invest in, but those two things can make a significant difference. So we like to prioritize those things and give recommendations on what you can do to update the home and actually put it in a plan for you. So I would say my biggest thing is, like, when we stage properties, a lot of the times agents will send us in about a month before they need to go on the market, and then we're giving them these recommendations, and they have a very short span of time to update. So I personally love the properties that I go into where they're thinking, again, in the aspect of planning, if you're thinking of moving in 3 to 5 years, you know, get those recommendations now of what you can do, or evaluate it yourself based on, you know, I have a bunch of pieces over here. There's a stage to sold document that I basically lay out exactly what buyers are looking for in today's market, and will pay full price for a home, or much higher. So there's actually like paint colors that we recommend in here, you know, countertop styles and all of that. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into houses where we are sent, you know, 3 years before they're looking to list, or they're just kind of getting they're like thinking about it, and we'll go in and we just helped with a bathroom remodel. They needed recommendations on, you know, well, what lights should I put in if I'm looking to sell in a few years? So we'll actually help select those items for them, and then you can enjoy them and like live with it. Because a lot of the times I'm going in there, you know, 30 days before, and we're changing Corian countertops into granite or quartz, and they're like, why didn't I do this? And I could have like enjoyed it. So, you know, I obviously know money can always be an issue there, but it really does, you know, make an impact in feeling prepared and knowing that you're putting those updates in. That's going to get, you know, your home, for, I would say most people, should be the biggest asset that you have. So you want to get the most money for that, and, you know, we'll recommend the things that buyers are looking for now, and will pay that premium for it. So, yes.
What's a good number you should keep in mind for how much you're going to spend to get your house ready to sell?
I take a
Impossible question.
Yeah, it is impossible, but I generalize, like, you know, if you do have some updates to do, give yourself about 10 to 15,000. You don't have to go through the process of gutting, you know, a bathroom or a kitchen. A lot of the times I go into homes, it's not like putting lipstick on a pig, but like you can paint a vanity and change out the light fixture and change the mirror, and you don't have to rip everything out. If you have really old tile, there's these great, you know, peel and stick tiles that I've used multiple times for properties, and it makes a huge difference in updating the bathroom. So there's things that we can recommend on a budget. Again, paint, depending on the size of the house, I would budget, I would say probably $5,000 to $8,000 for trim and walls and that kind of thing. But that to me makes all the difference. You know, painting just kind of freshens everything up. So
I have a great real life example. I had a client, they hadn't painted, they had 4 kids, it was chewed up and spit out, and they refused to paint. Oh, I bought this house, nobody painted for me. And we had 53 showings and no offers. Different market. And I said, we gotta paint. And we painted the whole house, changed the doors that were Luan and chipped away to 6-panel doors, changed the little vents, and, you know, there was a little exterior dent thing. Spent $9,000, raised the price $15,000, sold it the first day.
Yeah.
And the seller said, I really like it, I'm not sure I want to sell it. Just saying, paint is magic.
it is, yeah. I recently just did a staging for a property out by King of Prussia, and they had just taken the wallpaper down, and I gave a consultation and highly recommended. They weren't going to do anything. I said, your kitchen is your biggest selling point of your house. Like, you should just, it'll take you a couple hours to put a coat of paint on. And it went on the market, and I saw the pictures, and they didn't do it. And it just, I say to clients all the time, like, you could burn my staging plan in the backyard. You don't have to do anything on it, or you could do, you know, a few things on it, but it just hurts my heart because that's just so much money left on the table. So, you know, my recommendations are never, you know, me going in and being like, well, you could do this, it would look much better to do this. It's really my mindset and the girls that help me. You know, we go in and we're looking at giving recommendations that are going to get you a return. We're never going to give you a recommendation, or, you know, we won't recommend a $5,000 chandelier. We're looking for budget-friendly things that you can update and make it look really attractive, you know, to sell for the most money. So I do have, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I have a couple pieces. These are pieces that we actually bring to consultations, but this is probably a really powerful document just to kind of educate you on what people are looking for now. And I think that was it.
That's
Did anybody
awesome.
have any
Awesome.
other questions?
I have had multiple clients where the stager said, you know, I think we could move this here and move that there, and you know, it was just placement of what they already owned, and they were like, oh my gosh, I love this. I wish I had done this years ago, you know. So it's and that is part of this process. We want, if you're going to do something and spend money, and you're not moving for 5 years, do it now and enjoy it. Enjoy it. Why would you wait? I mean, people like put in a new kitchen to sell their house. Like, that's crazy. Like, you know, enjoy it while you can. Does anybody, that's a wrap. The one thing I did want to, I thought this was a very good quote. Your memories will not disappear when you move to a new place. So it is very hard to part with special, precious things, but and you know, everybody has their happy place in their home, right? You know, you have your little happy place where you watch TV, your little happy place in the kitchen, and you're gonna have new happy places. They don't go away. You know what I mean? Like they're replaceable with equally lovely happy places. Does anybody have questions for us?
I'll put a comment. You're right about paint. The exterior of my house was vinyl over steel. Became very shabby over the 30 years.
Yeah.
I had a painter come out. It looks like a brand new house.
Yeah.
It's
Siding,
amazing
shutters, yeah.
I go outside just to feel the and oh, I love your house. But before, if you touched the side of the house, your hand would come out with white.
powder.
The powder
Yeah.
from the deteriorated vinyl. And the house looks new now. And what a difference that makes.
Yeah.
Nobody would buy my house the way it was before. Now they come, wow, this new siding?
So
This is what it
there's,
looks like.
Yeah.
the people that will buy those houses are the people that are either investors or they're the people that know that they can see beyond whatever, and they also know they're one of 10% or lower that can see beyond what they're shown, and so they know that, and they're the bottom feeders.
Yeah.
You do not
Yes.
want them as your buyer because they know that they can see beyond the splattered whatever and the blah, 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 but they're going to go in because they're the sharks. You do not want them as your buyer. They exist, but they're going to go down low and fast, and that's not who you want.
It was $2,200 to paint the exterior.
Wow. That's a
cheap.
great price.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great price.
We need
Well-
his number. her or him.
Yes.
Cockerham in Westchester.
What is it?
Cockerham.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
They
Good to
do
know.
excellent work. They're my painter for my house.
Yeah.
But we use it at our church.
Mhm.
So I'm very pleased with their outcome. So I'm going to give a plug to him because he did a wonderful job at
Yeah.
Fairhouse.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It does, yeah.
Good to know. Good to know.
Who
Yes.
should we talk to if our youngest son wants to buy our home? He owns a home already.
Mm-hmm.
His children are in college. You know, there's one still living at home. Where do we start? You? Who's the first person to talk to about getting the ball rolling? This isn't going to be eventual. This may be 3 to 5 years that he's ready to buy it, but he's saving now. Who do we talk to?
Is he looking to buy it outright then or
Yes.
something? Okay. Yeah, I mean, speaking from the attorney point of view, then you could easily do a private sale. We could prepare a deed transferring it, and then a mortgage if you would hold the note, and then he would pay you each month is one option. Or he could get a more traditional one through someone like Jack's company.
I never thought of that.
So he wants to buy the home and have you continue to live there, or
No.
No, when we.
Wait,
are you moving? Okay.
We have 2 homes to move to.
Okay.
We have to pick one.
No, see, the
Mike's
problem,
right.
yeah, that's our biggest investment, but we have 2 other children.
Mhm.
So it would be like, does he have to buy them out,
Well, as I always say to people, your will, splitting everything equally, is great, but it doesn't come into effect until you've passed from this world. So, if you choose that child gets that, fine. What I will have some people, I actually just did this a month ago, a guy gave his house to his youngest son, and then in his will, he split the remaining assets between his two older ones, nothing to the younger son, and we just put a clause in there that said, I've taken care of my son X during his lifetime, and that's why he's not mentioned in the will. So you can do those adjustments.
Do you like that solution?
For his situation, it worked perfectly.
Our two older children own mansions, and they both have tremendous jobs. Youngest son, very good job. His wife and he work, and they both earn substantial incomes. But they don't have the money. They just put 3 kids through college, so there's not much left.
Right.
I had a client who, there's 2 children, and he is going to give it to his daughter, but he got an evaluation on the house, and he's got deep pockets, so what I'm about to say is not for everybody, but he is going to gift his son the half so say the house is worth $1 million. He's giving it to his daughter, and he's gifting his son $500,000.
I like that.
Yeah, I really don't want to get deep into the tax consequences here, but the attorney part of me is about to jump out.
You don't like that one?
When you pass away and real estate gets transferred due to your passing, due to your estate, you get a stepped up basis in it, which if you've lived in the house for 30 years and then you're selling it, you're going to have some major tax consequences. So that's why a lot of times if people hold it, they pass away and then it goes to the estate, that can be a major advantage for the child that gets the real estate. Again, this is not,
No, that's
this
true.
is not
That's a
101,
very
but this
valid
is
Never
something much
considered that part
deeper.
of it. That's important.
Yeah, and
Right.
depending on how long you've been in there, how it's appreciated, this is a big issue in Jersey Shore homes. So
We went through that.
yeah, and then you saw when Uncle Sam came knocking at the door, kind of how that went. So
With his hand out.
New Jersey State.
Yeah.
They,
Jersey funds a lot off of those shore house
Sure
transactions.
do. They take it all.
Yeah.
2%. Okay, if it's in state, it's 1% for the seller buyer, but if you were out of state, then they take 2%.
Yeah,
Is that
I'm not a
even
constitutional lawyer, but that
Yes,
bothers
that's-
the hell out of me.
legal?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Feel free we have some giveaway things, take business cards, some brochures. Did you have yours over there?
Yeah, mine are all over there.
Okay,
Jar
feel free to do
openers.
that. All of us are available if you want to have a private conversation, call any one of us, happy to help. Hopefully, we've given you some insight into something that perhaps you didn't know before, and we really appreciate you being here. Oh, and thank you very much to my speakers.
Thanks for running it.
Yeah, we have a number of different auction companies depending on what's going on.
I have a whole lot of people, 56 collectors.
Yeah,
And, it's like, I don't know what,
yeah.
but,
They're generally a donation item.
okay, are they? Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
But then mine is going to have
So it depends. Like the thing she was actually talking about is a whole house auction. And when we do a whole house auction, the decision has been made that we're going to do everything using the same. So whether it's Studio 50 or the Christmas decorations, the tools, the extra furniture, the whatever, it's all going into one format because well, when you're downsizing, you're getting rid of a lot. It covers a really wide swath very quickly, as opposed to itemizing and you're trying to find a home for this one thing and a different home for this one thing in a different way. So that's what that is. And it works well because a lot of people are driven crazy by these sort of like, what do I do with this thing? What do I do with this single thing? That kind of thing. That's really itemizing. It's not downsizing. And so when people start that process, it's what we want to do. There's a whole psychology behind it, but it's if you're really downsizing, then you have to look at wider venues. So whether that's a full house auction, whether that's a clean out specialist, where that will take a wide variety of things, whether that, there's different ways to do that.
There's like this consortium of Mennonite restaurants
No.
and all of the money that they make goes right into Mennonite village instead of other cash. Why do I go
Oh yeah,
I mean, I'm
that's great.
It's my principles, but I didn't really know they've been there.
Yeah, collectibles unfortunately are very generational in nature, and so it's a very generational thing. And so if you're at the tail end of the collectors, there's no one to sell to because the collector group has aged out. And so that's happened with Farmhouse. It's now happening with Yadro. The Yadro gals were younger than the Hummel gals, but that is all cycling out as well because they're aging out and they're downsizing and they're doing all those kind of things. So it is very generational. Unfortunately, for a whole host of reasons that really go into demographics in the United States and all kinds of things, a lot of there's just not a desire for as many collectibles. There's younger generations are much more mobile. They don't want as many.
Exactly, yeah, there's our website and this link to our possessions.
Yeah. So there's a guy who does a lot of the academic studies about downsizing, and he has this idea that everything should look like a bell curve. Your materials should look like a bell curve. Nothing at birth, nothing at death. And the height at 45, so I'm 55, so I'm like really pushing hard down on my downward edge. I'm really trying to, I know I'm not going into any of my kids' bedrooms. Like I'm not using any of their closets. I'm not,
Can't part with anything.
Not much.
Can't part with clothes. I am out of.
I have 3 closets. Big.
So my in-laws moved and they moved, in the fall. It was a terrible, terrible winter, and it's now spring. And my father-in-law admits that he's found a wardrobe box in their independent living community that they moved to that is a wardrobe box that is filled with coats that he did not wear all winter. And it was freezing cold out winter. And he says, my daughter's like, oh, Papa, my youngest, she was like 11 at the time. She's like, oh, Papa, and you donate those. And he looks at her and goes, I'm not donating them. They're really good coats. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have 30 coats in there. They are good coats. And he's like, no. And I was like, well, Papa, you haven't. She was like, well, Papa, you haven't worn them in a year. And he was like, nope, they're not going anywhere.
I forgot about the 3 coat closets I have downstairs.
And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but most of our people are actually moving and they have made the decision. It is much harder to downsize if you don't have that catalyst. Right. So we measure out like, okay, we've got in your new place, we have 6 feet in your feet. Okay. and this is 6 feet on one of your opinion, and I don't care if you want to put 70 coats, and that's 6 feet, but that's all you have. And if it's not going to fit on such linear feet, then it can't help it. So, that's the reason. We have like a limited buying space that we're living. When you're trying to just take your stuff and bend down the curve and get rid of things, that's a lot harder. Now, maybe just in case the one I might comes in. For me, I am like, yeah, like 7 So like, I could like, if I have a situation with in like a week or two, like I start to get like, what can I get rid of? What can I start to get panicked. See, I am a firm believer that I am not a donation perfectionist, and nobody should be a donation perfectionist. I will go anywhere, anytime. I love the Delaware clothing bank. If you have really nice clothes and you're feeling whatever, but Delaware, we're a little, I live in Westchester, so the Delaware clothing bank is lovely. They run it like a ship down there, like it is super, super organized, and if people are feeling like I don't want to take my things to Goodwill, that they are a great resource. So the community there.
This is a place that you donate furniture and home goods, and they're all together, and they're in Westchester. It's called Community Warehouse.
I have a friend who just moved, and that's she's so thankful about it. But she
Loved it.
Yeah,
But I don't know, what do you
They're a lovely organization. My problem with them, and we have this conversation on a probably 6-month basis, is you can't provide me consistently. Then my clients are now paying to donate their things. And not all my clients are willing to pay because they can't lift up that couch and take it to a community warehouse. We're women. I'm not, and my workers' comp does not say that we're movers. So we cannot pick up that couch and take it to community warehouse. And community warehouse sometimes does labor and sometimes doesn't. So it doesn't often work.
And I wonder if you have places in your data banks that people within that transport, I mean, but they're paying, they cost money.
And with movers, hold on one second. The way they charge, and this is nothing bad against the movers, but there's minimums and there's time and there's blah blah blah. And most of my clients look at me and they're like, I'm doing my really good acts and now I have to
Stopped it already.
pay to donate. That's we have separate cards, whatever.
Yep, go ahead.
Sometimes they do, and yeah, see, that's
see if I can
I'm in a business. Like we're moving 4 or 5 people a week sometimes. I can't have community go, oh, this week we have a pickup truck. Just next week we don't. The week after that. Hang on.
No, no, take your time.
That has our number on it. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
This equipment is stuff that I put together to do Zoom of Bible studies at church when we were in COVID.
It's amazing, all the way things got upgraded all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, it's funny because as modern as they were with their contemporary service and stuff, when I got there, their online program was a iPad in the back of the church.
Just someone.
Now they have this big elaborate system because they needed it during COVID. So we have like 4 or 5 different cameras. We have an entire audio system.
Yeah.
It's.
I remember in early COVID when I'd be doing court hearings through a laptop video, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
And now you got all the fancy stuff with it. Just nobody could hear you.
So our live stream is like a professional production now.
Okay.
It's amazing how much the technology has just changed in such a short period of time. You know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, COVID had its good points. Forced it. You know what they say? What's that expression? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
COVID was the necessity that was the mother of much invention. And it's funny because just in the news last week they were making fun out of it. Zoom saying we need our employees to come back to work. Like, wait a minute.
It's funny, my firm brought everyone back early because they said we need the face-to-face talk to you talk.
Yeah.
So we've been in for a long time at this point. Now, shockingly, the senior partners are working from their beach houses on Fridays, but otherwise we're in the place.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The thing I need is the rubber band. Wherever you put them. In your case? In your computer case?
We were, no. We was the last minute scramble because, hang on.
And the Oasis that was going to be there, she's incredible too. Yeah, so do I.
Let me ask.
I never knew that service existed.
Do you know this? We had bags and stuff with it. Do you know that she? Did I carry it?
Yeah. I think she was going to share something.
Or in your car? Maybe I can knock it down. This is home. This is it. Lou, I've got it.
Lindsey?
Okay, I have rubber band 1, rubber band 2, little bag 1, little bag 2,
You got it.
and big bag.
And the big bag was just an extra to take it to you.
Oh.
They usually live in the little bags inside
Well,
like
now
this.
you can keep them together. I hope it worked. I don't actually know.
You'll find
We're
out.
going to find out. Thank you so much.